Okay, I thank you all for coming tonight. We will call the Tuesday, November 15th regular city council meeting to order. If you'll please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first item we have is to approve the amended agenda as presented.
So move. I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. The second item is the consent agenda.
Mayor, move. I'll also second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next item is open forum, public comment. This is opportunity for anyone from the public that wishes to make a comment or bring anything to the attention of the council that isn't on the agenda. If it's on the agenda, we'll give you time when that item comes up to do so. So is there anyone that wishes to say anything? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Second item under public comment is planning and zoning annual presentation. Our city planner, Bethany Soderlund.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. I'd like to start off by expressing my gratitude for the support that you have given the Planning and Zoning Department this last year. With your support, the department has been able to review our shoreland ordinance and revisions have begun. We've gathered data and have analyzed fees and will be proposing a new fee schedule next month. Permits have been issued for over $27 million in development. Priorities have been made to engage stakeholders on a more regular basis, and we are working on drafting goals compatible with the comprehensive plan to further the development and stewardship of the city of Nisswa. I'd also like to thank the city of Nisswa staff and the Planning Commission for their help and dedication to the Planning and Zoning Department. This department of one is very grateful. In 2022, we have seen $27.7 million in development with 38 single-family dwellings being built, 7 additions, 30 accessory structures, and 8 commercial structures. There's been 22 septic system installations or upgrades and 18 connections to city sewer. The number of dwellings, septic systems, sewer connections, and additions are down from 2021, while the amount of accessory structures and commercial structures has increased. During the last year, we've had applications for 12 conditional use permits, 9 variances, 1 interim use permit, 2 applications for lot splits, 4 plats, 1 application to rezone, 5 boundary line or lot line adjustments, and 1 ordinance amendment. In 2022, 5 formal violations, actually 6 as of this morning, were filed with 2 currently being unresolved and in process. There is much room for improvement in this area, and I am hopeful that further clarifications in our ordinance, condition record keeping, and consistency will help put some teeth into our ability to enforce. I've been involved in numerous enforcement proceedings from mild to highly contentious, and have found that in order to effectively help people reach compliance, requirements must be clearly defined and not be dependent upon interpretation. It also requires an element of education. Most of the time, property owners do not know that they are in violation of the ordinance or what the necessary steps are to bring their property into compliance. Riparian follow-up should be implemented to ensure that any required stormwater management plans and buffers are sufficiently meeting the minimum requirements. The Planning and Zoning Department opened the permit counter this year, and it has been a good space to discuss projects, requirements, and meet with property owners and contractors concerning planning and zoning. The only negative feedback I've received is the volume of our conversations. So I try to keep that on the quiet side for Maggie's sake, and probably everyone else's as well. The plus side is having the GIS available while meeting with property owners and having pre-printed applications and information available right there at the counter. Jenny and I had the opportunity to meet with lake area associations this last summer. It was great to sit down and talk with all the lake association boards. We discussed issues and events that are impacting our lakes and ways that we can collaborate to encourage responsible stewardship and educational opportunities. This coming spring, the city is hosting a lake association gathering, and I'm hopeful that this will be an annual event where we can talk about any changes to the ordinance, state rule, and other regulatory items, along with those educational opportunities I mentioned. During the start of the Shoreland Ordinance Review this summer, we met with area contractors to hear from them as to what is working, what isn't, and areas of concern in the permit process and the development of Nisswa. Overwhelmingly, we heard that while customer service and interactions with city staff has been great throughout the years, most contractors and developers just call and ask because of two things. One, rules and requirements seem to fluctuate with the changing staff, and two, the ordinance is difficult to interpret and navigate. Which brings me to our Shoreland Ordinance Review and Revisions. Earlier this year, we contracted with Chris Pence to review our Shoreland Ordinance. The 5 guiding principles of this review and the subsequent revisions are, as outlined by Mr. Pence, are: number 1, statutory and rule compliance to ensure that the ordinance meets the minimum requirements of Minnesota Rules, Chapter 6120, and exceeds state standards by including ordinance provisions such as stormwater management and shoreline buffers, boardwalk provisions, dirt moving requirements, etc. Number 2, comprehensive plan goals. So the ordinance will further the goals outlined in the city comprehensive plan. Number 3, transparent process to guarantee that the process will be clear so that the public can participate as the ordinance is revised. Each month, the plan is the revised ordinance will be included in the Planning Commission packet 1 week before the meeting, so the Planning Commission has time to review the draft as well as the public. Feedback is expected throughout this process. Number 4, private property rights need to be considered anytime rules and regulations are imposed on landowners. The ordinance should be written in a way that landowners understand the requirements and the reason they are needed. Effective ordinance administration is the key to working with landowners and enforcing the provisions of this ordinance. Number 5, natural resource protection. Land use or zoning ordinances are implemented for the purpose of natural resource protection, as well as for the general health, safety, and welfare of the community. Provisions will be included in the ordinance that make a difference in protecting the wonderful natural resources here in Nisswa. Chris has been working closely with the DNR while revising the Shoreland Ordinance. My ultimate goal with this ordinance revision is just to clarify performance standards and permit requirements so we can help property owners and contractors develop property in compliance with local and state regulation while adhering to best management practices to preserve and protect our natural resources. This last spring, the Planning Commission asked me to look into our current permit fee process and evaluate for any changes. I collected land use permit data over the course of the year, studied other municipalities' fee schedules, and compiled an analysis of our valuation-based fee schedule compared to a square footage-based fee schedule. Presently, we are assessing fees based on the valuation provided to us by property owners and contractors, with no way to verify or standardize this method. I compared our fees received with this year's land use permits to the fees we would have received with the square footage approach, and the results were interesting. I thought there would be a greater disparity between the two, but the square footage fees generated only a few $1,000s more. And compared to other municipalities, Nisswa was on the low end for other fees such as CUPs, variances, BLAs, etc. After reviewing the findings, the Planning Commission has asked me to increase our fees to be more in keeping with other cities and to make sure we are collecting enough to cover a large portion of the costs, and to create a land use permit fee based on square footage and not valuation. I hope to have a proposed fee schedule to the Planning Commission at the December 6th regular Planning Commission meeting. In June of this year, we were officially awarded our Step 5 designation with Green Step Cities. I'm working to learn more about this program and to continue the implementation of Green Step practices in our community. I have had very little to do with this, so a big thank you goes out to Brittany Codner. There are several items that I would like to work on in addition to improving customer service and the daily administration of this department. Number one is directional downtown signage downtown. I know that this has been several years in the making, and so I would like to work with city staff, Amber in particular, to come up with a proposed plan to help eliminate the use of off-premise signs and promote businesses off of Main Street. Shoreland ordinance revisions and adoptions, and with that will come proposed shoreland alteration permits and stormwater management plans and the implementation of those items. The proposed fee schedule, adoption and implementation. And I also have until the end of November 2023 to finish my mentorship and get my SSTS inspector license from the MPCA. That will be a high priority next year to wrap that up, as I do not want to take those classes again. I also want to complete any required continuing educations for both the MPCA licensure and any subsequent continuing education for the Bowser Wetland certification that I hold. More community engagement. Miscellaneous ordinance revisions to include definitions, typos, and land use table updates. For example, our land use table lists detachable vestibules on existing buildings from October 15th to May 1st, and then says to see performance standards. Right here. Vestibules, detachable or otherwise, were not found under performance standards. They're not listed under the definitions, and they're not talked about ever in our land use ordinance. So things need to be kind of cleaned up and just make those changes that should either be removed from the land use table or added to both the definition section and then performance standards listed for that item. Additionally, we should be making sure that any changes or goals that we make this year correspond to the principles set forth in our comprehensive plan. A quick look down the road will include items such as online permitting software and digital document storage, a downtown master plan, land use map and housing studies, comprehensive planning updates, and for me as required, the preparation, testing, and certification from the American Institute of Certified Planners. Thank you for your time this evening, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
I don't have any questions, but I do have to give you, I have to tip my hat to you. You've done a phenomenal job. And when I first came on the Planning and Zoning Commission in November of last year, very short time to be able to just get interviewed by Bethany, or excuse me, by Brittany, and then she resigned, I think, a couple days later. So working with you since the start has been a very great experience. You're a professional among professionals. You do your job great. This presentation was phenomenal. Looking forward to seeing the work you're going to be able to do years to come.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, I just had one silly question. What's AICP certification?
It's actually a requirement of my employment that I become AICP certified. So the American Institute of Certified Planners is an organization, nationwide organization for city planners.
Hmm.
Where are we at with the directional signage? Have you kind of looked at that from the Planning and Zoning Board? I know a lot of downtown business people or off Main Street business people have asked me about it. So
Yeah, so I'm hoping to get started on that for next month and have something, just a preliminary idea that I can propose to the Planning Commission. I really would love to have this implemented before the summer season.
if people approach me every once in a while, they do, should we just direct them to you then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, that would be
Can do.
wonderful. I welcome that.
Can do.
Mhm.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is report, City Administrator.
Thank you, Mayor Ryan. Good evening, members of the council. My monthly report is in your packet. So I won't go over all of the details. I just want to say thank you to our city attorney and our city engineer for their help. We're getting very close on the Gull Lake Trail and the roundabout projects, and they've assisted greatly in getting to the final stages. Look forward to bringing that to the council soon for authorization to bid and going through that process, which will be great. One other update, Bethany and I attended a county board meeting of the whole today to hear some feedback and share our thoughts on the short-term rental ordinance that they have. So they are looking at ways that they can basically provide flexibility for all cities and townships to implement as they feel appropriate. So if there's a way for a city to opt into the county program, such as what is happening now, that would continue. If a city wants to administer their own short-term rental regulations, they can do that as well. So they're working through some options, and I think it will work out well for everyone once they get into those details. So we will be continue to be involved with that conversation to make sure those goals still continue to align with Nisswa. Happy to answer any questions.
No? Okay. Thank you. City Attorney.
Good evening, everybody. Excuse me, just to follow on what Jenny said about Gull Lake Trail. We are kind of game planning, scheduling as far as getting responses back to offer letters that Jenny sent out about a month ago or so. And I think she's starting to get some trickle in, at least acknowledgements of responses. So our plan is to kind of keep that pretty tight as far as follow-ups with these people to find out which we can direct purchase from and which have to be on a list to consider condemnation proceedings. And if that were to happen with any of these parcels, we would commence those proceedings at the first part of 2023. So we would be in shape to have titled everything we need title to by the time construction season comes. So Jenny's just starting to get some replies on those. Hopefully we'll get more, and hopefully we won't have to do any of the court stuff. Hopefully we'll be able to do direct purchases on all of these. Other than that, I don't have anything else. Thank you.
Thank you. City Engineer.
I don't have anything, Mr. Mayor, unless you have something for me.
Question? No? Okay, thank you. On to new business. First item under new business is the Brainerd JC special event permit. This is for the April 28th, 29th. It's just the Run for the Lakes.
Yes.
Here, I'll move on it.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second.
Second, any further discussion?
I think we have someone here who might like to
Yeah.
say hello.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, my name is Callie. I am here on behalf of the Brainerd JCs. I am the 2023 race director. Specifically, I know that this does come on the city council agenda somewhere in the months of February, January. Our normal date for the event is the last weekend in April. I realize that I'm here early, particularly because we have a new idea this year. We are hoping to implement actually a color run on the Friday night 5K. I'm not sure if that's part of your agenda, but I did want to specifically include that and have that be approved with this change from previous years.
Why don't you explain what the?
Yes, so what that is there will be 5 spots along the 5K course where runners and volunteers will have a colored powder. This is a food grade, it's cornstarch and food grade dyes. So it's FDA safe. I have actually the material safety data sheet included as well. That will be thrown at the runners in 5 different parts of the race. The reason for that is just to add a little bit more excitement and get hopefully the attention of even non-runners to get more attraction for the event. And so it's not just focused on running so much as without the color. So that is the reason for that.
Have any of you ever heard of a color run before?
Yeah.
Okay,
No,
so you're kind of familiar with it?
Yeah.
It's definitely a colorful event.
Yeah.
No pun intended. Literally, it's insane.
But the
There's a lot
route,
of powder.
everything else is the same as it always has. You're just adding.
Correct.
Okay.
Just for the Friday 5K, we are proposing that there be 5 color stations, one at the start line, one along the Paul Bunyan Trail before they get to the roundabout, another when they are just after the intersection between Centennial Lane and Poplar Ave. That's a lesser traffic intersection. Then again, once they get back on the Paul Bunyan Trail, and then finally at the finish line. The DNR has approved the permit for this also. So they are in agreement with this as well.
Okay. Does that alter anything that done?
No.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
We'll see you
Thank you.
there.
And thanks for coming in early. That's great to get it done.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine to come in early. Next item on the agenda is to a resolution certifying unpaid service charges for the unpaid sewer charges, excuse me.
Move the resolutions prepared by the city clerk or the certifying of unpaid sewer charges as presented.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Parks Commission recommendation to purchase community center water heater. This is one of those items that we had the money in this year's budget to do, so we're getting it done. Motion, anyone?
Can I clarify?
Amber's here.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you want, okay.
Well, I don't need to talk. I'm here if you have any questions, but I do want to clarify that it is the maintenance garage water heater. So I'm happy to answer any questions if you guys have any questions. Otherwise, the Parks Commission recommends moving forward with climate makers for the
Yep.
12,600.
I had just had a question, with this, climate makers, and it sounds good, because that's like a condensing boiler. I think it's very high efficiency.
Correct.
You don't really have a chimney, you just have a PVC pipe going out. But, that does say in here excludes power wiring. If service to water heater must be extended or modified. Why did they stick that in there? Is there some issue about that, or?
I'm guessing it's just standard disclaimer. We do have a water heater already in there, so if
Right.
if there's something bad with the wiring or it doesn't quite align, then there may be an additional cost to get that corrected.
Okay. Yeah, it's sort of, I've done a lot of these things and I haven't seen that one. So it's sort of a red flag. You might want to make sure about
Okay.
that. But, like you said, we already have a water heater there. So this will replace 80% efficiency with a 99%.
Correct.
Okay. And then as far as the maintenance, they're coming out of Brainerd, are they, or if you ever have anything that has to be done?
Climate Makers is, they have a Jenkins office. So we have our maintenance contract with them at the community center. So I requested a quote from them as well as SCR, as
Okay.
they've both done work with the Parks Department.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm glad you're going with the high efficiency one.
Yes, we got to make good ice.
Yeah.
Just a question then. I noticed the price of one water heater is $12,600 plus a little bit, which seems to me awfully high. And I understand there was a second quote, but we don't know what the second quote was. Do you remember?
It's
14,000.
14,000?
Yeah, the comparable one, the comparable high efficiency with SCR was 14,000. Whereas it's 12,600 with Climate Makers.
and even the 80% efficiency one is the same price basically as this high efficiency one.
And the cost also is because of the fast recharge generation of the water.
We need that.
Yes.
And also this includes the installation. So I imagine the boiler itself is not that expensive compared to the install.
Yes.
It's labor.
Mhm.
Well, I wish to thank the parks and the recreation people for not calling this a hot water heater.
Thank you.
I've learned, Don, I learned.
Could I get a motion?
I motion that we go ahead and get the quote as presented by the climate makers for the high efficiency unit. For that, it's the 12,200 or the 12,800?
600,
Or 600?
12,600 option 2.
Okay, $12,600 unit.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor,
No, no, never mind.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
Thank you.
Very good, yeah. The next item is recommendation from the Planning Commission, reference Roy Ridge final plat. Bethany?
Thank you. The Roy Ridge Homeowners Association is requesting that the city council approve the final plat of Roy Ridge First Edition located off of Highland Avenue. The replat of Roy Ridge consists of the 7 original single-family residential lots reconfigured. There is no proposed building or development. There was some issues with some documentation. Our city attorney, I will let him speak on behalf of what was presented to him.
Excuse me, there was just a need to tie one of the lots and the outlots together in there, and so they accomplished that through an amended declaration, which is sufficient.
The planning commission did recommend approval at the regular November planning commission meeting.
Anyone have questions for Bethany?
Mr. Mayor, I move with the city council concur with the planning commission on the final plat of Roy Ridge. Final plat is presented.
No, second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Next item is recommendation from the planning commission reference 2023 meeting schedule.
I hope you all have a copy of the meeting schedule. It looks very similar to last year's. There's not a lot of change. I did change the application deadline to the first Friday of each month for the following month's planning commission meeting. It's just easier to tell people that if you would like to be on that month, it's the following month, first Friday, to get your application in. So I did change that. I changed the timeline to deem the application complete or incomplete to just 1 week. I think that's sufficient to just make sure that all application materials are included. The packets will still be made available 1 week prior to the planning commission meeting. Mail notices, publication, all of that will remain the same. And then the only change is that the July planning commission meeting will be the second Tuesday of the month.
Very good.
For good reason.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2023 meeting schedule for the planning commission.
I'll second.
Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carried. Number 6, a resolution adopting an increase in sewer rates.
Think off the previous workshop we had earlier.
Yeah, we
I don't think any of
discussed,
us had
yeah.
any other questions.
So I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move the resolution adopting an increase in sewer rates for 2023 as presented.
No, second.
Although any further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number 7, adopt a grant donation management policy.
Thank you. I'll just provide a brief overview. I drafted a grant and donation management policy for council's consideration. I was finding that staff is taking great opportunities to find grants and donations and solicit them, and that's wonderful, but everyone's doing it a little bit differently and trying to bring that together, give the council information, getting approvals, things like that could be streamlined and a little more consistent. So hopefully this policy achieves that. At least it's a great first start. We can certainly adjust as we work through the first few times and see how things go even over the next couple of years. But I think it's a pretty streamlined process. Hopefully it's easy to follow and administer and gives departments flexibility and take the opportunity when they see something that might benefit their department to use that to their advantage. I'm happy to answer questions.
Anyone have any questions for Jenny? Okay. I did talk with Jenny a little bit about this when I read it because I wanted to understand it. I like the fact that staff can go ahead and just go after stuff and then just if it meets a certain guideline, they just deal with you or don't even have to just bring it to you and that. So I look forward to staff using it and then bringing any tweaks or changes. So stay in touch. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to adopt grant and donation management policy as presented.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. The next 2 items, these are late additions, but first one is a grant application or a grant opportunity for for the fire department. This is for wildlife fighting gear or wildlife, wildfire fighting gear. There we go. This does include a match from us, right? Okay, that's fine, yeah. So we've talked about this before on account budget stuff. I mean, this is stuff that's really needed, so. I appreciate the chief going out and finding a grant. Anybody have any questions? Or do I need to? Oh, okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we go ahead and accept the as presented here for the grant. For the grant that for the fire department.
I'll second.
Although, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. The second item on the agenda, Sean, if you want to come up and explain this for everybody so they understand. Fire department request for an additional officer.
Mr. Mayor, can I back up and ask a question on the last motion that just carried
Sure.
about our grant? You said that you would match the funds.
It's for-
Is that out of your budget or my budget?
Oh, boy, I think we should,
Would that be out of the city's general fund or would it be out of the fire department's general fund? That's all.
I think it would be out of the fire, would be out of the, I don't know, we didn't discuss that. I just said that there was
Why
a
wouldn't it be out
match.
of the fire department?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be out of the fire department?
Well, they just said how it was worded back there. I took it as, I wanted some clarification.
Well, it's
Is it-
requiring a fund match from us, from the
Okay.
city. So we'd probably take it out of your budget, but we'd have to put
Perfect.
it in there.
Okay, no trouble.
I would say it would come
I
out of,
assume that's why you applied, right?
I'm game.
Because you had money to
Okay.
do it.
I'm game.
Okay.
I've got.
take it out of Tom's budget.
Well, I would, honestly, I'd like to take it out of this year's, not next year's, but
Well,
I
and
I just
that's-
can't get it quick enough.
You can't
The
get
gear.
equipment to do
We
it.
can't
so
get the equipment till the,
And you can't
Second
get- you
of
can't get the
January.
Yes. Okay,
so anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm just thinking there's a way around that, but then I'll get in trouble with somebody, so.
Well, I can get the bill and they're willing to give me the bill, but I can't get the product until the second
Then
week
we'll
of
both be in
January.
trouble.
Yeah,
Okay, can you just explain to everybody what, I understand what you're going for, Jenny, explain.
so what I'm looking here is to add a fourth captain to our command staff. Right now I have an assistant chief and 3 captains. The real reason here is the span of control is 3 to 7 people, with 5 being ultimate. Right now, each captain's taking care of 7 firefighters, and I'd like to cut that back to 5. And there's other duties for this 4th person to do. And we were adding in our events that we're doing throughout the year. So I just think it would lighten up the load on the other 3, and it would just help. So that's where I'm at. And I think drill wise, to have a 4th squad would make it easier for checking trucks every month that we do this. So that's the request for the captain.
Any questions for the chief? I'll entertain a motion.
What about the second part?
Yeah,
And then I've also asked for a secretary
Yeah,
position. That's always, it's been granted once, but we pulled it back and because we didn't feel like we needed it. But for our meetings and so forth, we want to have our secretary reinstated.
can we do it all in one motion or could we have to do 2?
We can do it in one motion, but just something we'll have to revisit and ensure that we have a job description for the secretary. Probably very brief. Well, if we have a position paid, we need to have.
Yeah, I can take that out of our bylaws. There is one in
Sure.
our bylaws.
Perfect. That'd be
yes.
great. So we can bring that back. That's not a problem, but we'll do that piece of it, but you can approve both in
Okay.
one motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move that we approve the addition of a 4th captain and reinstate the secretary position within the fire department as presented.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you very much.
Chief.
Old business, there's nothing, council reports. The only thing I did attend the ribbon cutting for the new event center in Nisswa, which is the old mini Wawa Lodge. It was really fun. It was a good time. If anyone has an opportunity, go out there and check it out. The staff is great. It's a nice, clean, it's really a nice center. My wife even approved of the colors pattern that they used, so. But it was really a good time, and it's really nice to see them doing what they're doing out there and kind of bringing the resort back. And I know some people may not like that idea, but it's just nice to see, I remember when it was Mini Wawa Lodge, so. it was
And I
nice.
will add that my wife's family, who were the second and third owners of the resort, are very happy with the new owners and what's going on there. They have the approval.
That's all I have. Don,
Nothing.
Jesse,
Nothing.
Mark,
Nope.
Mark? Okay.
Mayor Ryan, were you going to mention about liaisons for next year?
Oh, thank you. I forgot to remind myself. That's why we have you. The new liaison positions will be up in January. We'll be reassigning and stuff. So if anyone has any requests or any changes or anything, let Jenny know. And she and I will probably sit down sometime, in December here, after, before, maybe just a little after the holidays, whatever, and just discuss it, and then we'll set a meeting for that. We have to do that right away in January.
Yes, our organizational meetings, usually the first full week in January or
Yeah.
something like that.
So if there's, and also if there's any, the first week of January, full week, if there's any days that are gonna conflict with anybody, let Jenny know right away, so we can try and get that all done and out of the way, so we can go. So Don, we're looking at keeping you on planning and zoning.
My salary range has just gone up substantially.
12%.
Yeah, we'll take that under, approved.
Out of my budget or yours.
Take it out of the fire department.
Yeah.
That got his attention. No, I'm kidding. That's all I have then. Nothing else? Okay. Motion to adjourn,
So moved.
second.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Everybody have a good Thanksgiving.